What's up guys, welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'm gonna be starting one of the biggest projects I've ever attempted on any vehicle ever. And that's gonna be for my C8 Corvette. Now based on the thumbnail and title of this video, you know why you're here. So let's just get right into it. All right, so I've been collecting parts for this project for a very long time. I just moved into my new house. We finally got the AC on the wall. Makes working on cars a little bit more bearable in this 115-degree weather in Arizona. So now that that's all hooked up, we can finally start projects again, and we're gonna be jumping in to a pretty crazy one with the C8 Corvette here. So what I got is a couple of mirror image 62, 66 millimeter precision turbos. I've been collecting a bunch of parts for quite a while because I've always wanted to do this project ever since I got this car. What we have here are some exhaust tips. We're basically gonna be building a full custom exhaust. That's basically all a turbo is. It's an exhaust with a turbo inline. But we got our V-band clamps, we got blow off valves, we got wastegates, we got filters, we got all the different reducers, tools, and fittings. We got 90-degree fittings, 45-degree fittings, we got flex joints, we got pretty much everything you could think of. Vacuum blocks, different sets of stainless steel tubing there, different lengths, different sizes. Everything we think you're gonna need for this project. Like I said in the beginning of the video, this is gonna be the biggest project I've ever attempted. I have a welder, I have all the stuff to do it. I've always wanted to learn how to TIG weld. I can do a little bit of MIG welding here and there, but TIGging is a whole nother thing. And again, this is all stainless steel, so it's gonna be even crazier. So it's gonna be a little bit of a challenge, but that's what this is all about, is just learning as you go. But I've been doing a lot of research. It doesn't seem too difficult. What we're gonna do first is basically pop the trunk, take the entire trunk apart, take the bumper off, take the wheels off. We're gonna get this thing up on quick jacks, make this a little bit easier to work on. While we're in here, we are gonna lower the car as well. I did buy a lowering kit for this, so we're gonna drop it like, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch to an inch. Figured why not? We're gonna have the wheels off, we might as well do it. All right, so before we rip into this thing, I just wanna give you a little glimpse of the engine. I haven't filmed a ton with this car because I've always wanted to just do the twin turbo kit and go crazy with it, and I didn't want to waste my time with anything else. I did put an aftermarket exhaust. It's a Paragon Performance track exhaust. This thing's stupid loud right now. It's crazy. It sounds really good. I like it a lot. I'm really excited though for how this is going to sound with the twin turbos. I've seen so many videos and it just sounds awesome. So I'm really excited for this. So let's just jump right into it and start tearing this thing down. All right guys, so we just made quite a bit of progress. As you can see, we got the entire trunk stripped down to just the air box. That's gonna come out in a second. We got the bumper off. We got this front section of the skid plate off. Next thing we're gonna do is pull this exhaust off. Once that removed, it's gonna give us a little bit better idea of where our turbos are gonna sit and how we're gonna mock all this up. So let's keep stripping this thing down. We'll start with the air box. All right guys, a little update for you. As you just saw, we removed the intake, we removed the exhaust, and this is where we stand. As you can see, this is all opened up. We have our studs here for the headers on both sides, or the cats. I mean, we're going to be reusing these, so we're going to have like a turbo back from the cats. The intake is the only really challenging part of this build. The way I'm going to do this is I'm not going to be running an intercooler, because I'm only going to be running like 3 to 5 pounds of boost from what I've read and some of the other kits out there. That's a pretty safe boost number, and you won't need an intercooler. If I see the intake temps are too high, it's something we could always add later, so I'm not too concerned with that. As you can see, the exhaust is completely gone. We have a fresh palette to work with. I'm going to show you a couple parts I'm going to be using for this kit, which I think are really cool. I just want to point out this little part here is a oil fill cap replacement. So as you can see here, the oil fill cap comes off, and then this piece has I believe that's a number 10 or 12 AN fitting. This is the same thing with the O-ring. It literally just replaces that cap. So that's how we're going to be doing our oil system. This is going to be the return into here. The pump's going to pump it up back into the engine, right where you normally fill up the engine anyways. Going back over to our parts table here, I briefly showed you in the beginning, but we do have our exhaust tips. These are double walled. It has a 3-inch tube on it, so it's going to weld up right to our 3-inch exhaust pretty much perfectly. I think these look pretty cool. We do have our blow-off valve here. Everything I did get is precision turbo. We do have our wastegate. So our wastegate is going to basically relieve the pressure from the downpipes going into the turbo to make sure we don't overboost. Another thing we're going to be running on this is flex pipes. The factory exhaust had these. A lot of people recommend running flex pipes. That way you don't crack your exhaust with the heat. That'll give you a little bit of flex in there. We have all these different reducers and flanges. All this is going to work with our turbos, our V-band clamps, all of our different fittings, all of our different angles, all of our different size stainless steel pipe. So as for the type of exhaust, I do believe I'm going to run with an X pipe. This is a little bit harder to fabricate and make fit instead of just running the turbos in their own individual sides and leaving it like that. But I do like the look of the X pipe. Everyone says the X pipe sounds better. So we are going to attempt this. We'll see how it works out. If it doesn't work out, we can always run them individually and make it a lot easier. But we'll see as we get to that part. All right, I had to throw the camera on a tripod to show you guys this next part, but this, because this part's a little heavy, but the turbos are gonna sit basically somewhere just like this. Now, I do still have to clock these turbos. They're gonna rotate. This is the bottom side, this is the drain side, this is your oil intake side, but they're gonna sit something like that, where the exhaust is gonna come down, connected to this part of the turbo, and then the intake is gonna go up, or the cold side is going to go up through the engine bay and connect to the intake. And then our X pipe will come off of this part somewhere and then route out the side, just like the normal factory exhaust would. The first thing we're going to do for, I guess, the next step of this build is going to be building the turbo mounts. I'm going to be using these Mavin small turbo mounts. They integrate right into the turbo and have the fittings here to do the oil drain feed. I think the way I'm going to be running the mount is off of this transmission bolt. We're going to basically build a mount that comes down and connects to the bottom of the turbo using a 1-inch tube. As you can see there, it just mounts right there. So we're going to have to weld that in, but that's going to be the first step. So let's start cutting some steel and see how this thing mounts up. All right guys, so as you saw in the last clip, we finally got those brackets completely fabbed up, and I do have them on the car. I'm going to show you in just a second. As you can see, our parts are starting to dwindle down a little bit, but if we head over here to the car, I already put the brackets on. As you can see, everything fits perfectly. I left this one off, or the turbo off, so that you can see kind of what it looks like with and without the turbo on. The bracket is very strong, plenty strong for the turbos. I'm going to clean up a little bit of the bracket in the back. I'll smooth all this out and we'll get all these powder coated at the end. But as you can see, they are on. Everything fits perfectly. I'm going to throw this other turbo up right now just so you can see what it looks like. All right, so it is a little bit of a tight fit, but I think everything's going to be in the perfect spot. You can slide these turbos right up inside here, and it sits just like that. That's with no mounting hardware or anything. And you can see it just fits perfect. So let's go ahead and throw in the mounting hardware real quick. All right guys, so as you can see, we got both turbos on there. Everything's mounted. It's pretty much perfectly balanced. I mean, they're maybe within like a 1/16 of each other, but if you measure from the top to the top of the flange, and the same thing over here, then from the ground to like the bottom of the flange, everything's identical. There is still some adjustment in the mounting point back here if it needs to swivel at all, but for the most part, everything's pretty much where it needs to be. I started mocking up the next part of this, which is going to be our X pipes. They're going to pretty much sit just like that. They'll come together in the center. With the reducer I have on this side, I don't have it on this side, but the dimensions are pretty much identical. So we are going to run with the X pipe. I'm going to get these all tacked up in place, cut down the center, tack together, and then we'll start getting the center section mocked up and installed. Once we have that center section done, then the next step is going to be the down pipes from the cat to the turbo, and then the intake from the turbo to the throttle body. But that's pretty much going to do it for this video, guys. This is probably going to end up being like a 3-video series just because of how much like fabrication work's involved with this. Video 2, like I said, is going to be the center section, the X pipe with the down pipes and the intake connections. And we might even start messing with the oiling. But once those 3 things are finished, then this thing can pretty much fire. That's all it really takes to run a turbo system. So stay tuned. This is gonna be a pretty crazy build. If you aren't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video, and until next time, guys, I will see you around.